Welcome along. You're watching Des Outdoors. You might recognise this spot from a couple of weeks ago, where I mentioned that the ground was rather hard. Today, it's a challenge. I've brought along some Boundless Voyager Outdoors titanium nail pegs in hope that it's going to penetrate the stony ground. Pack of 8 from Amazon was 18 quid, which if they do the job, then it's money well spent. But rather than get 2 packs, because I'm out in the Jackal tonight, Jackal 2, which I consider to be my palace, and I'm going to try and put the tarp up between those 2 trees, because anyone that owns an OEX exhibition tarp will know that you sort of got to pitch it in a conventional way over the top of the tent, using the tent as a ridge. But I'm going to see if I can put a ridge line between these 2 trees and rig something up like that. So I'll let you know how I get on. Right, here we are, finally set up. I had to do it the conventional OEX way. Basically, there was enough distance between the trees, but when I looked at the ground, obviously I wanted my tent closer to the tarp. The ground wasn't that great. What I will say though, with the titanium pegs, let me just grab one of these out. So we've got Boundless Voyage Outdoors, and they're a titanium peg. So little bit of advice, a little bit of a tip. As I say, these are £18 from Amazon for a pack of 8. Now, depending on what tent you got, I think this Jackal probably takes about 14 pegs more. I've not put all the guys out tonight, but basically, rather than buy the right amount of pegs for your tent, just buy an 8-pack, drive these into the ground, because this is really hard ground here. Drive through the stones, and then just put your normal alloy peg in, whichever your tent peg is. Save yourself a bit of money. But I do recommend these. Again, they are Boundless Voyage Outdoors, £18 for a pack of 8 on Amazon. They got their reflective rope to pull them out of the ground. But very impressed with these. So yeah, this is a setup for now. I've not even had a beer yet. I thought I'd get the tarp up in a hurry, because it did forecast rain. We might get some later, but not so many midges around. I have put the jungle spray on, so I'm hoping they're going to leave me alone. What's the time now? End of 6. I think I'll crack myself open a beer. On the menu tonight, I have grilled halloumi with a mango salsa in wraps. Something simple. Don't want anything too hearty and heavy this time of the year. When the winter comes, we'll be doing things like stews and curries again on the Trangia. So stick around, and I'll bring you back for the main meal this evening. Actually show you round camp, because I showed you obviously the inside of the tarp. Here we are, look. Nice little spot in there. It's behind the 2 trees, but I wanted to put the tarp in, but don't worry about them. I've checked them, they're not too rotten. They're not going to fall on the tarp. So yeah, this is where we were a couple of weeks ago, over there in the Bobcat. So here we are this weekend in the Jackal 2 and the OEX exhibition tarp. As I say, it's quite an opening here, but this is quite deep into the woods away from the track. But when I arrived, I just dropped my pack. Give me a bit of a fright. There was a little, what you might call a Bambi, little baby Bambi deer, looked at me like rabbit in headlights, and all of a sudden there's about 3 or 4 more. I thought it was a herd of elephants, it sounded like, but as soon as they saw me, they were gone. But it was a joy to see. I think whilst I was talking on the first video, it may have picked one of them up in the background. But there we go. As I say, it's a lovely spot here. It really is. As I say, it did forecast rain, but never know in this country. I'm blessed at the moment. As I say, not so many midges about. We've got some droppings down here, so we know the deer like to get in here. And again, a lovely, lovely sky. Watch where I'm treading. So that's it. I'm going to tell you a story later about an encounter when I was here a couple of weeks ago. I thought it was like an episode of Game of Thrones, but we'll talk about that later. Let's show you inside the palace, or what I consider to be the palace. This is my Jekyll 2. Plenty more room than a Bobcat. It's a little bit heavier to carry, but I do enjoy being in there, just the space. Using the what we got here, the CWZ 400 Nature Hike as a quilt tonight. I've got the down jacket for later, but look at the space in here. Got this set up relatively easy tonight because there's no midges about. You guys know now that I like my sleeping pads, so this one is the Big Agnes Rapide SL 25 by 72. Nice wide one actually. Trichology original aloof pillow with the plastic bladder out and my own pillows of choice in there, stuffed in there, which a bit heavier, but I prefer. Foil mat down, pack over the back, electrics, but yeah, beautiful, lovely bit of space. So I'm oh, got my bloody hat caught up. Right, let's set this back up. Keep the bugs out. Plenty of ventilation in there. Bug net zipped up, inner door closed. But yeah, I mean, like, I've got water over there on my mill for later. As we back out, you can just see. Look at that, look at that. Loads of room for little old me. But you've got to be comfortable. You've got to be comfortable. Right, let's just show you the ingredients for the menu tonight. I think I've previously mentioned, so we're going to, it's not actually grilled halloumi, you can grill it, but I'm going to fry some halloumi. But prior to that, I'm going to dice up that lovely mango over the back, along with that, well, I've got half a red pepper, so it's only me. It would normally be a whole pepper if it's for two. Now, the recipe I saw was for suggested coriander, but I'm going to swap that out for a couple of spring onions, half a lime squeezed in there, and I'm going to pimp that up in that foil with some chili flakes. Oil's there obviously for the halloumi, so let's get on with dinner. One thing forgot to mention, it's half a teaspoonful of sugar, but I used I think it's a Canderel sweetener. So in there you've got your diced mango, your diced pepper, I squeezed a whole lime in there, some chili flakes, half a teaspoonful of Canderel, oh, and a spring onion, 2 spring onions I put in there. So that's my salsa. Hopefully I've either bought too many chili flakes or not enough. Time will tell. In the pan, ready to rock and roll, is my halloumi. I think I've got four or five pitters there, but I've got enough. I've got a little bit of halloumi over there if I need any more, but I think this will do for me. So when I'm ready to plate up, I'll show you what it looks like. Let's give it a go. Roll it up, tuck it in, and have a bite. Top dollar. Absolutely top dollar. Mango salsa, squeeze of lime, diced up pepper, mango, bit of sweetener or sugar if you please, spring onion, a few chili flakes in a wrap with a bit of grilled or fried halloumi. Okay, so who am I and where did it all begin? My name's Darren Phillips, Channels Des Outdoors. It all began in the 70s where I got the bug for outdoor adventure. Grew up on a council estate in Alton in Hampshire. We were fortunate enough to live in a cul-de-sac that backed onto Hollybourne Downs, where every opportunity we had, sort of like school holidays, weekends, we were not just in the woods, in the fields, building dens, etc. I later joined the Boy Scouts. I was never a cub. And I was introduced to camping, hiking, that sort of thing. I can remember in Alton High Street, there used to be an Army and Navy store. And in the window, there was like a huge Swiss Army knife that used to sort of rotate round and round. Beyond that, there was like a tent sort of half set up with a backpack. And, you know, you'd think, oh, I'd really love to have my own tent, backpack and get off on my own adventure. The Scouts did encourage that to an extent, where you used to go off. I don't think there were sites. Maybe they knew farmers with fields and woodland. But, you know, that's where I really got the bug. And I started going with friends, as you do, weekends. And my first tent, let's tell you about that. So my first tent was given to me by my late Uncle Pete, God rest his soul, that used to go off around Europe, actually, looking for work and camping. And in those days, tents weren't what they were today. I think it may well have been Fab Seal. I had to waterproof it myself. Just a ridge tent, 2 poles, one either end. You know, your normal guy ropes. I think he sewed the ground sheet in himself. So that was my first tent. And obviously then you've got to get your cooking equipment, not like it is today, lightweight. So that was my first tent. He made sure that I knew how to pitch it, how to put it away, obviously when it was dry, when it was damp, how to air it, etc. Now, over the years, you know, I had various tents. I think Argos was the most sort of cheapest place that you could go to get a tent. You know, and, you know, you learn things like, oh, why, or you soon learn that, okay, well, it's not all it's cracked up to be. Why is it so cold? And, you know, you don't realise about insulation from beneath you, what you need to do. You know, and then you have nights where it does pour down with rain and perhaps your tent does leak, or somebody lets it down and you realise you're in a puddle in the morning. But, you know, it's all a learning curve. But, you know, there we go. I think in my early 20s, I started going to the New Forest because it was local. I think I went down there once with friends where we drove to Brockenhurst Park, stayed at Hollanders Wood, walked to Lymington, got I think it's a White Link ferry over to the Isle of Wight, and, you know, walked and did 2 or 3 sites around there, come on back home. And that was fantastic. On another occasion, I went with a friend to North Wales. That was a real experience, you know, seeing sort of proper mountain range for the first time. Snowdon National Park's a wonderful place for those of you that haven't been there. Some of you may, you know, be fortunate enough to live close by, but that's absolutely beautiful. That's a real rural camp. So why did the camping stop? Well, like many of us, you know, we grow up, we start to work, have a bit of responsibility, get a bit of money in our hand. Everything's exciting, you know, we're the social animal, so to speak. You meet somebody, have a relationship, have holidays, and eventually, like some of us, end up getting married. And then children come along, the worry, you know, suddenly huge responsibility. You are no longer the most important person in your life. You have a responsibility not just to the woman you live with, but the children. You are now a parent. You know, and so the furthest thing in your mind is going off on your own camping somewhere with your mates. You know, so the focus of attention is on the family. After some years, you know, for some of us, including myself, out of nowhere, divorce. And you ask the question as, where am I now? And who am I now? I think for whatever reason, we're all guilty of perhaps losing our own identity. We just get sort of caught up in the moment of life, trying to be responsible with work, being a parent, etc., etc. And we do tend to forget about ourselves. And it's, no coincidence that we do perhaps lose our own identity. I think for me, like many of us, when you realise your kids have grown up and they're adults themselves, and they are now taking on the responsibility perhaps you once had, you find yourself in a situation where, because you've been a parent for so long, you never really, whilst you're with your kids, sort of envisage being without them, if that makes sense. And then suddenly they've got a life of their own. They're not as needy. They're growing up. They're forging their own lives. And you ask yourself the question, well, who am I? Where do I go now? We find new partners, new relationships. Some of us get remarried, but ultimately you must have something for yourself. You must reconnect with yourself, and regain your own identity as to who you once were. Who perhaps, why were you attractive to somebody else, or how was your personality sort of intriguing to somebody else? But it's not really about what other people think, and that's where I'm coming to. Perception. For many years, I think perhaps we're all guilty of worrying about how we perceive, what do people think. But I'm at the ripe old age now of 59 where I really don't give a shit, excuse my language, because life is short. We all know people, friends and family that are no longer with us, and we all need to wake up and embrace life and do the things that perhaps you did as a kid, that made you happy, prior to responsibility. Now, I'm not saying I'm irresponsible. I've still got responsibilities, but I'm now finding time for myself, doing the things that I enjoyed perhaps in my childhood, because today, I've mentioned before, we've got some great lightweight equipment. You learn, and just appreciating the small things in life. I mean, I'm out this evening. I'm in the New Forest. I've got my tarp up because they said it's going to rain. I've got my tent within that. I've had something to eat. I'm having a few beers. I've seen some deer. It's just absolutely amazing. And I really enjoy it. I can disconnect from the day-to-day of work, and I can just sort of collect myself. Now, life is made up of moments. Somebody, I'll say a wise man I worked with once said to me, as you get older, son, your outlook on life changes. And as I've gotten older, he's absolutely right. What you thought 10, 20 years ago as to what you think today are two different things, And I am at the point of my life now where I'm content in what I do. I know who I am. I don't care how I'm perceived. And it all comes down to humble beginnings, where we all started, your childhood. Basically, that's it. Enjoy the moment. There are some good moments, there are some bad moments. But it's a bit like a generation game, Goes around and round. You try and grab as many good things as you can on that conveyor. Life's a bit like that, because there's a lot of shit that comes around as well. But, you try and grab as many good moments as you can, embrace them and enjoy them. Be happy. Home sweet home. Ooh. Look how this lights up this beautiful tent. Obviously when the light's on it, all the guidelines. Good morning. Let's have a look at the time. About 20 to 7. Very light this morning. Didn't sleep terrific last night. I think I was on a bit of a slope, but I did have a kip yesterday afternoon before I come out, so that may have some bearing on it. But sun's up in the back, if you can see it behind me. Yeah, I'm now going to get the kettle on, have a nice cup of tea, and try and pack away a little more slowly this time. I always tend to be in a hurry for whatever reason, just sort of a habit, you know, rushing around for work, etc. I must learn to slow down a bit. I mean, that's not a bad view from the tent this morning, where you sit and have your cup of tea. People pay good money to have a lovely woodland view like this. Hello. Beautiful creatures. Right, that's another wild camp over. A lovely night, beautiful this morning. Didn't have the rain that was forecast, but you know, I'm not complaining. Back to reality now. Goes without saying, leave no trace, just a flat patch of grass behind me. Rubbish bag to take with me. Take care, guys. Look after yourselves, and I'll see you on the next one.